Nothing makes you feel more awkward, like a child, than trying to learn and speak a new language. And on the flip side, few things feel better than connecting with people in a new culture by speaking their language. In today's video, I will share 4 core techniques proven to accelerate language development. Let's unwrap the 4 core techniques first, then elaborate on each as you go deeper into the small things that make a big difference in language learning. Think of these 4 base techniques as legs on a chair. All 4 make the chair stable, and without one, it won't stand. What are the 4 core techniques? 1 is mindset, 2 is study, 3 is listening, and 4 is practice. Let's dig more into mindset. No approach to grammar or practice can overcome a poor mindset. Studies show that anxiety, fear, and internal resistance prevent the activation of the frontal lobes needed for memorization. The right attitude includes commitment, I will, expectation, I can, and curiosity or playfulness, I wonder if. Playful learning might include acting out words you want to remember, using more emotion as you memorize, or engaging in a competition with others on vocabulary. Make it fun, and your brain will love you for it. If you keep saying, I just can't learn languages at my age, or, this language is so much harder than my native language, then you will make the job of learning harder. Don't do it. If you struggle to have an open, learning-ready mind, focus on your daily commitment to learn, listen, and practice the language. Let's shift our focus to listening to the new language. As children, that was the main way we mastered our native language, listening to adults communicate. We eventually figured out the meaning of keywords and phrases just by the context or the way they were used. That's why I recommend that every day you listen to native speakers in common situations speak the language. Use subtitles so you have a better understanding of the topic and the words they're using. If I'm listening to YouTube or Netflix, I pause the video and take notes in Google Translate so I can review the words and phrases later in my study time. You can also use a flashcard app to take notes. Let's shift our focus to the best ways to study the new language. So many language learning programs exist, and I've found that the best do 3 things well. Start with the words and phrases most familiar to your current language. Second, focus on the most used words and phrases. Focus on words and phrases that are relevant to situations in which you will find yourself. Use YouTube to experiment. I personally found that a daily investment in learning was much more important than the program I was using. I also found that daily study of my flashcards and Google Translate was invaluable. My goal was to learn at least 10 words or phrases daily, and this is how I did it. Perhaps you've picked up on the fact that I advocate using daily goals. Daily, I check in with my mindset, spend time listening to the language I'm studying, then dig into a study program usually on YouTube, and then shift to some time with vocabulary using a flashcard app or Google Translate. That brings us to the 4th pillar of language learning, and that's practice. Everything we've done so far prepares you to practice with native speakers, and nothing exposes impractical, academic language training like trying to buy fruit with someone who doesn't understand your accent, your choice of words, etc. You have to put yourself in awkward situations with native speakers, if possible, to integrate your learning fully. Many years ago, I found myself in Peru as a missionary. I had studied Spanish and felt I knew it until I was in Peru, trying to speak to native speakers. It didn't go well. They didn't understand me because, in fairness, I hadn't been listening to native Peruvian Spanish speakers, so my intonation was off. But here I was, neck deep in the country, and I had to figure it out. So, every day, I studied Spanish, took notes on actual index cards I used to quiz myself, and did the best I could each day to navigate conversations. I listened to real conversations and sometimes took notes. I was overwhelmed, but slowly, I started to hold my own in conversations. Within months, I was dreaming in Castilian Spanish because of this immersion. Years later, I returned to live in South America, rusty for sure, but I used the same approach. I decided to be fluent again. I studied daily, listened to both YouTube and actual conversations, and surrounded myself with native speakers who didn't speak much English. It felt awkward as it did before, and yes, my native-speaking friends made fun of me, but eventually, I became fluent again, perhaps even more so than before. This process works. So what are you waiting for? Decide. Bring your best attitude to the language challenge. Study and listen any way you can. Find a way to practice, especially when you feel awkward, because on the other side of the awkwardness is that great feeling when you connect effectively with those in a different culture. Thanks for joining us today at the Change Capability Institute, where we make change easier. Until next time, we'll see you in another video.